guys? I'm Victor Quintana and I am so excited today because we are going to be talking about Leica's new lens, the 24-70 with a through and through 2.8 aperture. So stick around. Alright guys, so yesterday I was able to get a chance to play with the 24-70. I don't have it here with me right now, but I did get some shots here that you can see. And I'll be filling in some example videos that I took with it, some example shots, and some behind the scenes of me actually using the lens. Now, I'm really excited for Leica to be going this direction because they are so overpriced with the rest of the market as far as like Canon and Sony. I know Canon and Sony has some like $3,000, maybe a $4,000 lens here and there, but Leica's always been substantially pricier than any other camera brand. So the fact that they are realizing this and taking this 24-70 and kind of putting it to the more affordable price range is, I think, a step in the right direction to get more Leicas in more photographer hands. You know, the one thing about Leica is the fact that because it is so expensive, you don't see that many creators, especially nowadays with so many people through Instagram and TikTok filming and creating a bunch of videos. All of them are either using Canon, Nikon, Sony, or Panasonic. I feel like it's mostly Canon or Sony at this point. And honestly, I love my Leicas. I would never trade them in for anything else. I just love the simplicity of the cameras and everything that they make. And the fact that it's all kind of handmade and not machine produced is kind of just a cool thing as well. Making this 24-70 lens really, I think, is a step in the right direction for Leica. So I'm really excited to see how they continue down the line and see if they come out with some more affordable lenses. Now, first things first, with this lens, the very first thing that I noticed about it is the focal, I'm sorry, not the focal. The first thing I noticed about it was the zoom ring actually turns in the opposite direction of the 24-90, the 68-35, and the 90-280. First, I kept like screwing up my shots because I thought I was trying to like zoom in, but then it wasn't zooming in. Then I thought I was all the way zoomed in, but then when I looked, I wasn't zoomed in. And it just took a little getting used to, so that's definitely the first thing that I noticed from this lens. And I'm not sure as to why they decided to design the lens that way. Could be due to the fact that they designed it after the Panasonic lenses or maybe even the Sigma lenses. Off the top of my head, I have used a couple of those zoom lenses from those other manufacturers, but I don't remember which way the zoom ring turned. Stay tuned for that. That definitely threw me off in the beginning. But once I got used to that, the lens worked completely fine. The fact that it was a through and through 2.8 was just awesome. For most photographers, this lens is kind of like a good starting out lens. You have a little bit of wide, you have a little bit of zoom, and then having that focal or that full 2.8 throughout the lens is kind of like the perfect go-to lens. I remember when I first started out, I was shooting Nikon. I started with a D3000, then upgraded to a 7100, and then eventually got my pro body and got a D3S. And my lenses for many years were the 24-70 with a 2.8, a nifty 50, which was a 1.4, and then eventually got an 85 1.8. And those were the three lenses that I basically used to do everything. So having that 24-70 is such a great lens, especially now that Leica's going to be bundling the SL2 and the SL2S, offering bundles with this lens. I think it's a great way to get your hands into a Leica system and kind of have a lens that's a little bit all around. They did used to bundle the 24-90 with the SL, and I think when the SL2 first came out, they did a couple of bundles. But the price difference between the 24-90 and the 24-70 is just so substantial that the bundle just was incredibly expensive either way. So this is kind of a more budget-friendly bundle. I'm hoping that people will actually buy into and realize the potential of these Leica lenses and the Leica cameras as well. Now, the other great thing about this lens is how much smaller it is than the 24-90. One thing that you're losing with the lens, it doesn't have O.I.S, optical image stabilization. I said that right? I think so. But I digress. The 24-90 does have that, and that's why you see it's such a bigger, like, chunkier lens than the 24-70. But with the SL2 and the SL2S, it does have in-body stabilization, so you can get away with not having a stabilized lens because the stabilizer in the camera just goes to work and you're pretty much fine. I shot most of the video clips using this lens all handheld. I just had a camera strap on the camera and kind of just tucked in my elbows and tried to be as steady as possible. I did mix some 4K 60 footage and played around with 1080 at 150 and I believe a couple shots in 180 frames per second as well. And I think all in all the shots came out pretty nice. Just threw a little warp stabilizer on there in post and the shots look super clean. As far as the images are concerned coming out of this lens, honestly I think they are just as good as the 24-70. They really are just incredible images straight from the camera without any sort of editing whatsoever, and these are all taken with the 24-70. Now the lens, as far as performance, it is comprised of 19 elements in 15 groups, featuring 3 elements with aspherical surfaces on both sides. Also has a minimum focus distance of 18 centimeters, which honestly I probably wouldn't use this lens for any sort of like close-up shots or anything like that. For any macro or like detail shots, I probably would stick to the 60-35, which has a very small minimum focal length. I do not remember off the top of my head. Now, I honestly can't speak enough to the fact of how much lighter and smaller the lens is. This is the 24-70. You guys are familiar with this lens. It's big, it's heavy, it's chunky. And because this is my main lens, it makes me not want to take my SL2 out when I'm either hanging out with families at an event or something, or even traveling. I usually leave that camera at home and I'll travel with either a CL or usually a Q just to keep everything compact. Now with the 24-70, it does make the body and lens a little bit more manageable, a little bit lighter, so I'm gonna try and see how I feel about taking the SL2 out more frequently rather than just using it for work, and kind of go from there and see how much of a change it really is as far as like weight, size, and being able to maneuver the camera very easily. Another thing I was worried about was actually the build of the lens. I have played with Panasonic lenses and the Sigma lenses that are part of the L-mount alliance, and the build material of those lenses always felt a little off to me, considering, you know, used to Leica lenses. But I will say the build of this lens is actually pretty on par. The only thing that I find missing from it really is just like the weight of it, but you have to keep in mind, you know, this lens does have the stabilization motors in it, so it's gonna be heavier and bigger. Whereas the 24-70 is meant to be lighter without that. So you gotta take that into consideration, but I think overall the build quality is great. Compared to the Sigma lenses, I think it's a nicer build. Some of the Panasonic lenses are pretty much on par, I'd say. Although the one thing about the Panasonic lenses I don't like is the focusing ring that clicks back and forth. I always end up like hitting that by accident and then I lose my focus, and it's just a whole thing. But all in all, I am really excited to keep using this lens, trying it out, see how I like it, and once it becomes more readily available, I definitely foresee myself buying into this lens, maybe even getting rid of the 24-70. I don't know, that might be a stretch. But who knows? Maybe. Ideally, if I had the 24-70 and then a couple of the Summicron Prime lenses, I'd be set. It's just, you know, having that 24-90 focal length is really just an awesome amount of different focal lengths, so I can really use it for everything. But I digress once more. Alright guys, so hope you guys enjoyed this quick little video. I only had a day with the lens, so I wasn't really able to test it out too much. I would love to do a longer video where I test out the 24-90 and the 24-70, same shot, same settings, and kind of do a comparison between the two like that. I know that my friends over at Leica Store Miami, they did an awesome review video for the 24-70. It's over on their channel, Leica Store Miami on YouTube, and you should be able to find it for a more in-depth video. If you guys like this video, hit the thumbs up button, and if you're enjoying this type of content, make sure to subscribe. Would love to see you here on the next video, and as always, if you have any questions, please leave it down in the comments. I am trying to be more diligent of creating more videos in a timely manner. I know there's a few of you that have reached out with certain questions, and I am working on those videos. Just takes time. I am a one-man band, so patience. Until next time, guys, I'm Victor Quintana. Toodles.
It is official. Laura is switching career choices and taking on photography. That's all I have to say. I'll see you guys soon.